Captain Starlight, and today we've got a very special story from Disney's Mickey and Minnie Storybook Collection. This story is called A Surprise for Pluto. One sunny morning, Mickey Mouse looked out the window. "What a beautiful day," he exclaimed. "Perfect building weather." His nephews, Morty and Ferdy, joined him. "What are you going to build, Uncle Mickey?" asked Morty. "Oh, I don't know. Maybe a tree house?" The boys jumped up and down. "A tree house?" Ferdy said. "Can we help?" Morty asked. "You would be great helpers," Mickey replied. "But there will be lots of tools in the yard. It might not be very safe. Why don't you take Pluto to the park instead?" "Sure, Uncle Mickey," the boys replied. With his nephews and Pluto gone, Mickey called his friends. He told them about the treehouse and asked if they would like to help. Soon Minnie, Donald, Daisy and Goofy arrived in Mickey's yard. "Building a treehouse is a big job," Mickey said. "Maybe we should split up the work." "Great idea, Mickey," Goofy said. "Why don't you saw the boards, Goofy?" Mickey said. "Then Donald and I can hammer them together." Minnie showed Mickey a special drawing she had made. "Good thinking, Minnie," Mickey said. "That will be one of the most important jobs of all." Goofy emptied his toolbox in a corner of the yard. The tools made a big crash and a big mess. Goofy found what he was looking for and began sawing the boards. After a few minutes, Minnie walked up to him. "Sorry to bother you, Goofy," she began. "I was wondering if you would cut some boards for me too." "Sure," Goofy said with a grin. "Just tell me what you need." Over by the big tree, Donald and Mickey worked together to make a rope ladder. When they were finished, Mickey attached the ladder to the thickest branch. He gave the ladder a strong tug. It didn't budge. "That should do it," Mickey said. "Once we finish building, we can use this ladder to climb into the treehouse." Just then, Goofy brought them a stack of boards. "Here you go," he said proudly. "I still have to saw the boards for the roof, but you can use these for the floor and the walls." "Thanks, Goofy," Mickey said. Mickey and Donald climbed into the tree, pulling the boards behind them. The sounds of their hammers echoed through the backyard as the friends started building. Across the yard, Minnie pulled her hammer out of her tool belt. As she picked up the first board, she realized that she had forgotten something very important. Minnie hurried over to the big tree. "Do you have any extra nails?" she called up. "I left all mine at home." "I have some," Donald said. He fished a box of nails out of his tool belt and gave them to Minnie. On the way back to her project, Minnie stopped to see how Daisy was going. "Wow, Daisy," Minnie said, "you mixed up a lot of paint." Daisy giggled. "I might have mixed a little too much," she said. "Do you need any paint for your project?" "Thanks, Daisy," Minnie said. "That would be great." Soon, everyone was hard at work. Buzz, buzz, buzz went the saw. Bang, bang, bang went the hammers. Swish, swish, swish went the paintbrushes. Mickey's backyard was a very busy place. Later that day, Morty, Ferdy and Pluto came home from the park. The boys couldn't believe their eyes. "Wow!" they cried. "This is the best tree house ever," added Ferdy as they scrambled up the rope ladder. Beneath them, Pluto whined. He couldn't climb up the ladder like the others. Mickey understood right away. "Don't worry, Pluto," he called. "Come around to the other side of the tree." Pluto trotted around the tree and found something that made his tail wag. A set of stairs that was just his size. "Minnie made them for you," Mickey explained. "Now come on up and join the fun." Pluto ran up the stairs. It really was the best treehouse ever. Thank you for joining me for the story. I'm Captain Starlight. Hello everyone, Captain Starlight here, and I am very excited because today we're reading
Disney's The Lion King.
The hot African sun rose on an amazing sight. Giraffes, zebras, elephants and animals of all kinds were gathered at Pride Rock. This was an important day. King Mufasa and Queen Sarabi had invited the wise old baboon Rafiki to present their newborn cub to the animal kingdom. Rafiki ceremoniously marked the cub's forehead with coloured dust. Then he lifted the infant high into the air for all to see. The animals cheered and bowed before Prince Simba. But one family member didn't attend the celebration, Mufasa's brother Scar. Mufasa and his assistant Zazu went to ask Scar why he had missed the presentation. Zazu reminded Scar that as the king's brother, he should have been first in line to congratulate the family. "I was the first in line until the little hairball was born," retorted Scar, angry that he was no longer heir to the throne. "That hairball is my son, and your future king," Mufasa growled as Scar walked away. As time went by, Simba grew into a playful and curious cub. Early one morning, Mufasa brought Simba to the top of Pride Rock. "Everything the light touches is our kingdom," he told his son. "One day the sun will set on my time here and will rise with you as the new king." "Wow!" cried Simba. "But what about that shadowy place?" "That is beyond our borders. You must never go there," said Mufasa sternly. "But I thought a king could do whatever he wants," said Simba. "There's more to being king than getting your way all the time," Mufasa explained. "You need to respect all creatures. We are all connected in the great circle of life." Simba tried to listen, but he was busy chasing grasshoppers and practicing his pounce. Just then Zazu appeared, urgently warning the king that dangerous hyenas had crossed into the Pride Lands. Simba begged his father to let him go with him, but Mufasa simply commanded Zazu to take Simba home as he sped off to protect the kingdom. "I never get to go anywhere," Simba complained. Back at home, Simba went to see his uncle Scar. "My dad just showed me the whole kingdom," the cub bragged, "and I'm gonna rule it all." Scar scowled. Then slowly he began to smile. "Did he show you the place beyond the border?" asked Scar slyly. "Only the bravest of lions would dare to go to an elephant graveyard." Simba didn't see his uncle's evil trap. He decided to show his father what a brave cub he could be. Simba found his best friend Nala with her mother and Queen Sarabi. "I just heard about this great place. Can Nala and I go?" Simba asked Sarabi. "It's near the watering hole," he fibbed. "All right," said Sarabi, "as long as Zazu goes with you." "Not Zazu," thought Simba. "He'll spoil everything." As they set off, Simba whispered to Nala, "We've got to ditch Zazu. We're really going to an elephant graveyard." He and Nala darted through herds of animals until they left Zazu far behind. "We lost Zazu," Simba exclaimed. "Now we can look for the elephant graveyard." As he and Nala wandered, they tumbled downhill and landed with a thud next to a huge elephant skull. They were in the graveyard. "It's really creepy," Nala said. "Let's check it out," Simba said. But soon Zazu caught up with the adventurous cubs. "We're way beyond the boundary of the Pride Lands," he scowled, "and we are in very real danger." At that moment, 3 hyenas named Banzai, Shenzi, and Ed slunk towards them from inside the skull. Terrified, the cubs ran for their lives. As they darted and stumbled across piles of old elephant bones, Nala suddenly slipped and fell. Shenzi lunged at her, but Simba swiped his sharp claws across the hyena's cheek. Suddenly, a tremendous roar shook the ground. It was Mufasa. His giant paw struck one of the hyenas as he growled, "If you ever come near my son again." The hyenas ran away before he could finish. No one noticed Scar lurking in the shadows. Mufasa scolded his son on the way home. "You disobeyed me, Simba." "I was just trying to be brave, like you, Dad," said Simba softly. "Being brave doesn't mean you go looking for trouble," replied Mufasa. While they talked, Mufasa directed Simba's attention up to the stars. "The great kings of the past looked down on us from these stars," Mufasa explained. "Just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you, and so will I." Later that night, Scar visited the hyenas. "I practically gift-wrapped those cubs for you, and you couldn't even dispose of them," he said with a sneer. "What were we supposed to do? Kill Mufasa?" Banzai whined. "Precisely," answered Scar. Then he told them of his new plan. This time, no one would escape. The next day, Scar found Simba. "Your father has a surprise for you," he said. Scar led Simba down a steep gorge and told him to wait there. Then Scar signaled the hyenas to frighten a herd of wildebeest. The panicked animals stampeded right towards Simba. Hearing the thundering hooves, Mufasa looked into the gorge and saw his son. He leapt down and saved Simba's life. Simba was safe, but Mufasa was still in danger. As he tried to climb away from the stampede, the rocks crumbled beneath him. Struggling up the cliff, Mufasa saw Scar. "Brother, help me!" Mufasa cried. Scar dug his sharp claws into Mufasa's paws and whispered, "Long live the king." Then he let go. Mufasa fell and disappeared beneath the herd below. Simba hadn't seen Scar push Mufasa, he'd only seen his father fall. When the stampede was gone, Simba ran to Mufasa. "Dad? Dad?" Simba cried, nuzzling him, but his father lay motionless. The great king was dead. Scar came to Simba's side. "If it weren't for you," he said, "your father would still be alive. Run away and never return." Heartbroken, poor Simba ran away as fast as he could. Scar sent the hyenas out to kill Simba, but the cub escaped them once more. The hyenas lied to Scar, telling him Simba was dead. At Pride Rock, Scar told the grieving lionesses the news. "It's with a heavy heart," he lied, "that I become your new king." Rafiki and Sarabi listened in disbelief. Everyone in the Pride Lands mourned for their beloved king and Simba. Meanwhile, Simba was far away from the Pride Lands. The ground turned dry and cracked beneath him. The hot sun beat down as vultures circled above his head. Exhausted and unable to go any further, Simba slumped to the ground. After a long while, Simba awoke. Everything around him looked different. Instead of desert, there were trees, grass and flowers. A meerkat named Timon and a warthog named Pumbaa had brought him to their home. "You nearly died," said Pumbaa. "We saved you," cried Timon. Simba stood up, thanked Timon and Pumbaa and started to leave. Pumbaa asked Simba where he was from, but Simba didn't want to answer. "I did something terrible, but I don't want to talk about it. You got to put your troubles behind you, kid," said Timon. "No past, no future, no worries. Hakuna Matata." Timon and Pumbaa's happy-go-lucky attitude quickly cheered Simba. He decided to stay with his new friends. Years passed, and Simba grew into a young lion. One night, while looking up at the stars with his friends, Simba remembered his father's words. "Someone once told me that the great kings of the past are up there, watching over us," he said to his friends. Suddenly, wanting to be alone, Simba wandered off. As he sat gazing at the sky, his paw broke a bit of milkweed fluff. Caught in the night breeze, it drifted away, until it reached Rafiki's tree. The old baboon plucked the fluff from the air and sniffed it. "Simba," the old baboon exclaimed, "it is time." Rafiki painted a red mane around a lion cub etched on a tree. Then he walked into the darkness in search of Simba. The next day, Pumbaa was chasing a bug when a fierce lioness sprang at him from the tall grass. He screamed and tried to run away, but he got stuck beneath a fallen tree. "She's gonna eat me," he squealed. As Timon tried to push Pumbaa free, Simba rushed to help. Simba wrestled with the lioness, but then he realized she was his old friend Nala. "You're alive," Nala said happily. "That means you're the king." Nala told Simba how Scar had destroyed the Pride Lands. Scar let the hyenas take over. "There's no food, no water. Simba, you're our only hope." "I can't go back," said Simba angrily. He turned and walked away. Simba thought about what Nala had said. "I won't go back," he said to himself. "It won't change anything." Just then, Simba heard a chanting song from the jungle. Rafiki came walking towards him. "If you want to see your father again, look down there," Rafiki said, pointing into the pool of water next to them. Simba stared and saw Mufasa's face reflected in the pool. "He lives in you," Rafiki said. Suddenly, Mufasa's image appeared in the clouds. His voice seemed to fill Simba's mind and heart. "You must take your place in the circle of life. Remember who you are. You are my son and the one true king." As the vision faded, Simba knew what he must do. The next morning, Rafiki told Timon, Pumbaa and Nala that Simba had returned to the Pride Lands. "He's gone back to challenge Scar," Nala exclaimed joyfully. When Simba reached the Pride Lands, he was saddened by what he saw. His homeland, once green and beautiful, had turned barren under Scar's rule. Bravely, Simba continued on his journey. When Simba arrived at Pride Rock, he let out a roar that shook the earth. Scar was surprised and frightened. He thought the hyenas had killed Simba long ago. "This is my kingdom," shouted Simba. "Step down, Scar." Scar lunged. Simba stepped back, lost his footing and slipped off the cliff. As Simba clung to the cliff edge, Scar leaned over him. "Now this looks familiar," he said with a sneer. "Oh yes, I remember. This is just the way your father looked before he died." Scar smiled evilly. Then Simba realized that it must have been Scar who killed his father. Outraged, Simba gathered his strength, sprang back onto the rock and attacked. At that moment, Nala, Timon and Pumbaa arrived and a battle broke out on Pride Rock. Suddenly, crack! Lightning struck the dry grasslands. In seconds, huge flames roared around Pride Rock. Scar tried to sneak away, but Simba cornered him at the top of Pride Rock. "Run away, Scar," Simba said, repeating what Scar had told him long ago. "Run away and never return." But Scar lunged at Simba. With a powerful swipe of his great paw, Simba knocked Scar off the cliff and he fell to his death in the gorge below. As rain began to fall, drenching the flames, Simba stood at the top of Pride Rock and roared triumphantly. Simba took his rightful place as the Lion King, and in time, the Pride lands flourished once again. Grass and trees grew, herds returned to graze, and food was plentiful. Soon all the animals gathered at Pride Rock to celebrate the birth of Simba and Nala's cub. The circle of life would continue. Thanks so much for reading with me, everyone. I'm Captain Starlight, and see you next time. Bye.
Hi, I'm Captain Starlight, and today we're reading
Disney's Moana.
Moana was a little girl who lived with her family on the island of Motunui. Her home was a beautiful place surrounded by a coral reef and shimmering blue seas. Her father Tui was chief of the island. Moana was destined to be chief too one day. Chief Tui cared very much about his people and made sure they were happy and safe. He didn't allow anyone to sail out beyond the coral reef, where it might be dangerous. After all, Motunui had everything the villagers needed. Who would want to leave? Moana's grandmother, Grandma Tala, liked to tell ancient tales to the children in the village. The other toddlers would sometimes become frightened. But Moana loved the stories. In the beginning, Grandma Tala said, there was only ocean until an island emerged, the mother island, Te Fiti. Her heart had the power to create life itself, and she shared it with the world. Grandma explained that some people wanted to take the heart and keep its power for themselves. One day, a demigod called Maui succeeded. He used his magical fishhook to steal the heart, and Te Fiti began to crumble. As Maui made off, he was confronted by a monster called Tikar. The pair fought and the heart was dropped, lost in the sea. Not long afterwards, Moana was playing on the beach, her favorite place. She stepped out into the water and amazingly it rose up around her, creating a path out to sea. Moana followed the path and spotted a little spiral stone in the water. She reached out and grasped it. Just then, Chief Tui came looking for his daughter. The sea quickly whisked Moana back to the shore. The toddler dropped the spiral stone on the sand as her father and her mother, Sina, took her back to the village. Moana would have spent every day by the sea if she could, dreaming of adventures on the waves, but her parents taught her that she belonged in the village with her people. The years passed and Moana was very happy growing up in Motunui. She learned from the people around her and in return helped them in any way she could. When Moana was 16 years old, Tui took her to a large pile of stones atop of the island's highest mountain. "One day you will add your stone to this mountain," he said, "and raise our whole mountain higher." Tui told Moana how important it was for her to stay in the village and lead her people. Moana nodded at her father. Even though she still felt drawn to the sea, she wanted to make him proud. Later that day, Grandma Tala found Moana and led her along a rocky path to the furthest point of their island, to a secret cave. "What's in there?" Moana asked. "The answer," Grandma Tala replied, "to the question you keep asking yourself, who you are meant to be." Moana climbed inside the cave and gasped in amazement at what she saw. The huge cave was filled with sailing boats. Moana began beating a big drum on one of the boats and something magical happened. In her mind, she could see her people's history. They had been great voyagers. Moana leaped out of the cave with excitement. She asked her grandmother why their people had stopped voyaging. Grandma Tala explained that after Maui took the heart of Te Fiti, a darkness spread across the sea. The ancient chiefs had stopped Moana's people from sailing to keep them safe. Grandma Tala said that the darkness was starting to infect their island too. Their home was in danger unless someone found Maui and took him to restore the heart of Te Fiti. Grandma took a spiral stone from her necklace. It was one that Moana had found in the sea when she was little. It was the heart of Te Fiti. The ocean chose you, Grandma told Moana. Now that Moana knew the truth, she wanted to help save the island. She ran to the village leaders. "We were voyagers," she cried. "We can voyage again." But Chief Tui quickly pulled Moana aside. He didn't believe that the spiral stone was the heart of Te Fiti, and he wanted his people to stay safe on the island. Tui threw the spiral stone to the ground. As Moana picked it up, she spotted something that made her stop in her tracks. It was Grandma Tala's walking stick. But where was Grandma Tala? Something wasn't right. Moana raced to Grandma Tala's home and found her very sick in bed. She rushed to her side. "Go," Grandma said in a weak voice. "You must. The ocean chose you." "I can't leave you," Moana protested. "There is nowhere you could go that I won't be with you," Grandma replied. She gave Moana the necklace to hold the heart of Te Fiti, and with the last of her strength, she whispered, "Go." Moana knew what she had to do. She packed some supplies, took a small boat from the secret cave, and set sail. In the night sky, she saw the stars in the shape of the fishhook that Maui carried. Moana tried her best to head in that direction, but soon a storm rose up. Wham! A giant wave crashed into her boat and everything faded to black. Moana slowly opened her eyes as the sea splashed her face. She had been washed up on the beach of a strange island. As she looked around, she spotted tiny marks in the shape of a giant fishhook carved into a nearby rock and some giant footprints in the sand. This must be Maui's island, Moana realized in amazement. Could the sea have brought her here? Suddenly, Maui himself appeared. Moana summoned all her courage and told him that he must go with her to restore the heart of Te Fiti. But Maui refused. He said he had taken the heart for the humans, just as he had brought them the sun, fire, and tides. All he wanted to get his magical fishhook back, which he'd lost in battle with Te Kā all those years ago. Maui boasted to Moana about all the amazing feats he had achieved. But as he talked, he trapped Moana inside a cave. Maui had been stuck on this island without his fishhook, which he had the power to help him shapeshift into different animals. Now he finally had a way to leave. He went back down to the beach, boarded Moana's boat, and set sail. But Moana wasn't ready to give up on her mission. She found a way out of the cave and dived into the water. Amazingly, the sea pushed her through the water and lifted her onto the boat. Maui was surprised to see her. "You will put back the heart," Moana told Maui in her bravest voice, holding the spiral stone heart towards him. But Maui still refused to help. Just then, spears started landing around Moana and Maui. They were being attacked by the Kakamora tiny bandits dressed in coconut armor. Moana battled them with her oar and was able to keep them from stealing the heart. Finally, together, the pair managed to escape from Kakamora and sail away. After that, Maui finally agreed to go with Moana to Te Fiti. But then they needed to fetch his fishhook first. "We go east," said Maui, "to the lair of Tamatoa." Maui was certain the monster Tamatoa had his hook. "Teach me to sail," said Moana. Maui refused at first, but then the sea knocked him over with a poison dart. He couldn't move. As he lay on the deck, Maui was forced to teach Moana all he knew. He explained that what he did was called wayfinding, not sailing, using the sun, stars, moon, wind, waves, and the currents to help you get where you want to go. Moana slowly but surely learned how it worked.
Tamatoa's lair was in Lalatai, the realm of monsters.
By the next morning, the pair had reached the tall, rocky island that was the entrance to the realm. They climbed upwards until they reached a deep, dark opening.
Lalatai was underneath the sea.
Moana and Maui had to pass all the way down through the water to reach it. They each took a deep breath and jumped into the pitch black hole. Maui landed safely, but Moana was caught by the tongue of a huge monster. Luckily, an even bigger monster ate the first monster, and Moana dropped to the floor unharmed. After that, Moana couldn't find Maui anywhere. She saw a cave and bravely went inside alone. She spotted the fish hook amongst a huge pile of shiny gold objects. But just then, the ground rose up to reveal Tamatoa. As the monster grasped Moana in its huge claw, Maui leaped onto the scene and grabbed his hook. Maui tried to shapeshift, but his powers weren't working properly. Tamatoa dropped Moana and started to attack Maui. Thinking quickly, Moana took the stone from her necklace and held it out to Tamatoa. The monster who couldn't resist new treasures chased Moana as she led him away from Maui. As she ran, she tripped and dropped the stone. Moana called out to Maui, "We gotta go!" "But the heart," cried Maui. "He can have it. I've got this one," Moana replied. She opened her hand to reveal the heart of Te Fiti. She had used an ordinary stone to trick Tamatoa. Before the monster had a chance to attack again, a geyser exploded underneath Moana and Maui, launching them safely through the top of the realm. They made it out alive. Back on the boat, Moana helped Maui practice shape-shifting until he could do it easily again. As the pair sailed towards Te Fiti, Maui told Moana that he was born human, but his parents didn't want him. The gods gave him the fish hook and he used it to give it to the islands, fire and tides to the humans. But it was never enough for them. Moana realized that Maui had taken the heart of Te Fiti for his people to prove his worth. Just as the pair spotted Te Fiti in the distance, Te Kā appeared. Maui had to get past the lava monster. He turned into a huge hawk and took to the skies, clutching the heart in his claw. But Maui was no match for Te Kā, who quickly knocked him out of the sky. Moana helped Maui back onto the boat, and the pair headed further towards Te Fiti. Then they watched in horrors. Te Kā brought a fist of fire down towards the boat. At that very last moment, Maui raised his hook to block Te Kā's fearsome blow. Boom! A shockwave rippled across the sea and created a huge tidal wave. Maui and Moana's boat was lifted up and swept far away from the lava monster's grasp. The friends were now a long way from Te Fiti and their boat was in a bad way. Moana wanted to head straight back to battle Te Kā again, but then gasped as she saw that Te Kā's blow had left a huge crack in Maui's hook. "Without my hook, I'm nothing," Maui said. Maui was mad at Moana. He angrily told her that the ocean shouldn't have chosen her for this task. He dropped the heart of Te Fiti onto the deck and used all the power he could muster to shapeshift into a hawk. Moana tried to convince him to stay, but he refused. He flew off into the sky. Moana was heartbroken. She looked out across the water and spoke to the sea with tears in her eyes. "You chose the wrong person," she said. "You'll have to choose somebody else." Then she held the heart of Te Fiti out to the sea. After a moment, the water took it from her and back below the waves. Moana was stunned. She had thought the sea might force her to keep the heart and carry on. But now she had nothing. Moana felt so alone, but just then she looked into the water and saw a magnificent glowing manta ray swimming beneath her boat. Suddenly she heard Grandma Tala's voice and looked up to see her grandmother's spirit sitting next to her. Moana was so happy. Tala told Moana that she would stay by her side whether she decided to go home or carry on. As they talked, hundreds of ghostly canoes emerged around the boat. They were Moana's ancestors. Grandma Tala asked, "Do you know who you are?" Moana realized that this task had always been her destiny and she must complete it. She dived over the side of the boat and swam deeper and deeper into the sea. The heart of Te Fiti glowed brightly and Moana retrieved it from the seabed. Moana repaired her boat as well as she could, then set a course towards Te Fiti once again. Te Kā was still determined to stop Moana and hurled huge masses of molten lava at her, but just before it struck Moana, Maui appeared out of nowhere to take the blow. He had returned. Even though his hook was broken, Maui bravely fought Te Kā, allowing Moana to sail onwards. When Moana reached Te Fiti, she gasped. The island wasn't there. It was just an empty crater and there was no goddess to be seen. There was nowhere to put back the heart, but Moana didn't panic. She took a deep breath and looked at Te Kā towering over Maui. Suddenly, she noticed a glowing lava spiral on the monster's chest. Moana looked at the spiral stone heart in her hand. She knew what to do. She stepped into the sea and the water parted, creating a huge pathway between Moana and Te Kā. "Moana!" Maui cried. "What are you doing?" Te Kā swooped down and came to stop in front of Moana. The monsters no longer seemed frightening, in fact. Moana thought she could see a sadness behind its eyes. Moana reached out and placed the heart into Te Kā's chest. The glow from the heart slowly began to spread across the monster's body. Moana watched as the face of the lava monster transformed. Now that the goddess's heart was restored, she was changing back to her true self. A crown of flowers blossomed around Te Whiti's head, and she took her place in the water. Her island exploded with green and came back to life at last. Maui was amazed at Moana's bravery and so proud of his new friend. Te Whiti had forgiven Maui for taking her heart and even fixed his fish hook for him. Back on their boat, Maui and Moana prepared to go their separate ways. The new friends hugged before Maui shapeshifted into a hawk and flew away. But this wasn't goodbye. Moana knew that Maui would be there whenever she needed him.
Back on Motunui,
Moana's parents were desperately worried about their missing daughter. They were overjoyed when she appeared on the horizon in her little boat. Later that day, with a shell in her hand, Moana headed up the tallest mountain to the pile of rocks her father had once shown her and proudly added her shell to the top. Moana finally knew who she was, the next great ocean explorer destined to lead her people on amazing new adventures. Thanks for reading along. I'm Captain Starlight.
Hello everyone, it's Captain Starlight, and today we're going to be reading
Disney's Frozen 2.
King Agnar of Arendelle loved telling his daughters Elsa and Anna stories of long ago. One night, he told them about the Northuldra, a people who lived in harmony with the spirits of nature. The Arendalians had built them a dam as an offering of friendship. When the two groups gathered to celebrate, a fight broke out in the enchanted forest, and it was surrounded by an impenetrable mist. No one could get in, and no one could leave. The story left Anna and Elsa with many questions. "Do you think the forest will wake again?" asked Elsa. "Only Ada Harlan knows," answered their mother. "Ada who what?" asked Anna. Queen Aduna told them that her mother used to soothe her to sleep with a lullaby about a special river called Ada Harlan, said to hold all the answers to the past. "Will you sing it for us, please?" asked Elsa. Aduna agreed and began the lullaby. It wasn't long before the girls had drifted off to sleep. Anna soon awoke and ran to the window. She looked outside before calling to Elsa. "The sky's awake, so I'm awake, so we have to play." Many years passed, and although their parents were gone, Anna and Elsa watched out for each other. Olaf had learned to read, and Kristoff had bought an engagement ring, ready to take the next step with Anna. Sven fully approved. One thing the group always made time for was family game night. It was time for charades. As Olaf changed into different figures, Kristoff guessed every one correctly. Teapot, unicorn. When it was the girls' turn, Anna struggled to guess what Elsa was acting out. Elsa complained of being tired and called it a night. The truth was, something was bothering Elsa. A voice had been calling to her, trying to draw her away from the kingdom, but it seemed as though no one else could hear it. Moments later, Anna appeared. "You're wearing Mother's scarf," she said. "You do that when something's wrong." Elsa didn't want to worry Anna, so she simply said, "I just don't want to mess things up." Anna always had a way of making Elsa feel better with both her words and her actions. She sang their mother's lullaby, and Elsa drifted off to sleep. Anna quickly followed, dreaming beside her sister. Later that night, Elsa awoke to the mysterious voice calling to her again. She couldn't help feeling curious. Did the voice belong to someone magical like her? As Elsa walked down to the fjord, she used her magic, tossing snow into the air. Images she had never seen before blossomed from her fingertips and surrounded her. Fascinated by the imagery, Elsa blasted out her power, and an enormous shockwave swept across the fjord. The moisture in the sky froze into small crystals and hung suspended in the air. "Air, fire, water, earth," she said. The shockwave startled Anna awake, and she raced to the balcony, searching for Elsa. She stared at the glimmering ice crystals that hung in the air. Then, she saw her sister standing on a hill made of ice by the fjord. As the sisters' eyes met, a blinding flash of light came from the north, and the crystals dropped to the ground in a cascade. Elsa raced towards the village. As the crystals fell, Arendelle transformed. Water stopped flowing, fire vanished, the wind kicked up, pushing villagers out of their homes, and the ground rippled like the sea. Once everyone was safe on the cliffs above Arendelle, Elsa told Anna and Kristoff about the voice. Elsa explained that the voice hadn't said anything. It had simply shown her the enchanted forest, and then forced us out of our own kingdom, Anna said. To protect us, Elsa stated. From what? Anna asked. I don't know yet, Elsa said. The ground rumbled again, but this time it was the mountain trolls rolling through the pass. Grand Pabby went straight to Elsa. Both of them could feel that the spirits of nature were angry. Much about the past is not what it seems, Pabby said. When one can see no future, all one can do is the next right thing. To do that, Elsa knew she needed to find the voice. And this time, Anna, I'm not afraid, she said. Grand Pabby motioned to Anna and told her that he would take care of the villagers, but she needed to watch over Elsa. I won't let anything happen to her, Anna promised. At dawn, Anna, Kristoff, Olaf, and Sven joined Elsa. They all piled into Kristoff's wagon and began the journey north out of Arendelle. They passed many places they had seen before and continued even further into the unknown. Since Olaf had learned to read, he'd gathered many fun facts, and he felt now was the perfect time to share them. Did you know that water has memory? Olaf asked. Did you know men are 6 times more likely to be struck by lightning? Sorry, Kristoff. As the night came to an end, Elsa asked Kristoff to stop. I hear the voice, she said. Ahead was a vast wall of glittering mist. Elsa ran straight for it, knowing they had arrived at the enchanted forest. The others were not far behind her. Olaf made a run for the mist and bounced off it like he was hitting a balloon. He giggled and then jumped up and did it again. Elsa reached for Anna's hand, drawing on her sister's strength. Slowly, the mist parted before them. Promise me we'll do this together, Anna said. I promise, said Elsa. The sparkling colors in the mist shifted and aligned. Something about it had changed. Instead of bouncing off when they touched it, the mist now pushed them faster and faster. The mist continued to roll back, revealing 4 stone monoliths that bore the symbols of air, fire, water, and earth. As Elsa, Anna, and their friends passed the pillars, the mist closed behind them, trapping them inside. Suddenly, they were propelled into a clearing. Olaf touched the mist they had just emerged from. It had returned to being bouncy. Okay, it clearly doesn't want to let us out, Kristoff said. This forest is beautiful, Elsa said. With the soft rays of the sun illuminating the forest, it was like walking through a dream. The towering trees had shimmering golden leaves and stretched towards the sky. The group slowed their pace, staggered by the beauty. Anna gasped as she stepped up to an overlook and saw the dam in the distance, realizing it was the one from her father's story. It was real, and it still stood strong. Kristoff joined her, wondering if it was the right time to give her the ring he'd been carrying around in his pocket. But before he could get the words out, Anna panicked when she couldn't see Elsa, and she hurried off. As Elsa heard Anna, she turned towards her sister. Elsa, there you are, said Anna. Elsa assured Anna that she was okay, but suddenly they realized they'd lost track of Olaf. The little snowman was distracted, happily exploring the enchanted forest until he realized he was alone. Anna? Elsa? Sven? He called. The snowman rationalized that when he was older, all the things that seemed strange now would make sense. From the falling leaves to the strange face in the water, even the huge gust of wind that rushed towards Olaf, bending trees in its path, didn't bother him. This is fine, he said. The wind spirit swept up Olaf at the very same moment his friends found him. As everyone tried to help, they got swept up into the windstorm too. Elsa used her magic to stop a branch from slamming into Anna, which caused the wind spirit to push everyone but Elsa out of its grasp. Desperately, Elsa threw a steady stream of snow towards the center of the vortex. The wind swirled tighter around Elsa until finally she opened her arms, blasting out her power. Snow filled the air and froze into beautiful ice sculptures. Each one appeared to represent a moment in time. Water has memory, Olaf said, explaining how ice could reveal the past. One of the sculptures immediately captured the sisters' attention. Young Prince Agnar, cradled in the arms of a girl. They heard noises coming from the bushes. Anna broke off an ice sword from one of Elsa's sculptures and sliced open the greenery, revealing reindeer and people. Before the group could react, more people dropped from the trees. Then soldiers appeared. They were the Northuldra and Arundelians from King Agnar's story. The two sides, still at odds after many years, ignored Elsa, Anna, and the group and immediately began arguing. The leader of the Northuldra, Yelena, bickered with the Arundelian Lieutenant Matthias. Thinking she recognized Matthias, Anna stepped forward, still holding the ice sword. Feeling threatened, both the Northuldra and the Arundelians rushed towards them. Elsa used her power, shocking everyone and sending them to the ground. That was magic. Did you see that? Matthias said. Of course I saw it, Yelena responded. When Matthias got to his feet, Anna stared at him, trying to figure out where she knew him from. Finally, she blurted out, "Library, second portrait on the left. You were our father's official guard." Matthias was overjoyed to hear that their father was King Agnar and that he had made it back to Arundel. Yelena burst forwards. "Why would nature reward a person of Arundel with magic?" she said. "Perhaps to make up for the actions of your people," Matthias responded. Everyone knew he was referring to the long-ago battle between the Northuldra and the Arundelians. "My people are innocent," Yelena said. "We would never attack first." "May the truth be found," Matthias said. Elsa tried to calm everyone. She told them about the voice that called her there and how she believed it held the answers to free the forest. She asked for their trust. "We only trust nature," Yelena responded. "When nature speaks, we listen." Suddenly, a bright flash appeared. "Fire spirit!" Yelena yelled. A ball of fire dashed around a tree, sending it up in flames. Chaos erupted as it blazed a trail, burning everything in its path. Elsa raced behind it, using her magic to try to stop it from spreading. When she finally chased it down, the fire spirit was not what she had expected. The fire spirit was a tiny salamander. As Elsa looked into its eyes, she understood its feelings of pain and fear. She gently held out her hand, and it scampered onto her palm. Enjoying her cool touch, as she helped it find calm, the flames around the forest died. The voice called out again, and both Elsa and the salamander turned towards it. "Someone's calling us. Who is it? What do we do?" she asked. The fire spirit looked into the distance, and Elsa instantly knew what it was trying to say. "Okay," she whispered. "Keep going north." When the sisters were reunited, Elsa pulled out their mother's scarf and wrapped it around Anna, knowing it would comfort her. Ryder and Honeymarin were intrigued by it. Elsa explained that it had been a gift from their father to their mother. It had been one of Iduna's most cherished possessions. Recognizing the symbols on the scarf, Ryder took the sisters back to the ice sculptures Elsa had created. Elsa compared their mother's scarf to the one the young girl was wearing. They were identical. "I see it," Elsa said. "That's Mother. Mother saved Father's life that day," Anna said. "Our mother was Northuldra," Elsa announced to the group around them. The two opposing sides were bewildered by the discovery. Suddenly, their differences, anger and suspicions melted away. The forest animals called out, and each of the Northuldra laid their hands on the shoulders of the person in front of them, softly beginning to sing. Yelena resisted until she could no longer deny their connection. Anna and Elsa looked at each other, overcome with emotion. "I promise you," Elsa said as she turned to Yelena, "I will free this forest and restore Arundel." The Northuldra and the Arundelians began to speak softly with excitement. They wanted nothing more than to be free of the forest. "We will do all that we can," Anna assured them. After Elsa's revelation, everyone gathered for stew and glögg. Kristoff, who had bonded with Ryder through their love of reindeer, showed him the ring he had for Anna. "I know nothing about women, but I do know that we have the most amazing way of proposing," Ryder said. "Really?" Kristoff asked. Ryder nodded. "Best part? It involves lots of reindeer." Meanwhile, Matthias shared with Anna wisdom he'd learned from his father. Just when you think you found your way, life will throw you onto a new path. Anna knew what followed. You needed to do the next right thing. At the campfire, Honeymarin showed Elsa the spirits of nature symbolized on her mother's scarf. Elsa was surprised to learn about the fifth spirit called the bridge. It was said to connect the magic of nature to humans, and it disappeared when people stopped listening. Moments later, the ground began to shake. The earth giants had appeared. Everyone hid, but the giants seemed to sense Elsa because of her magic. Elsa quickly threw her powers into the night sky, tricking the earth giants and sending them lumbering in another direction. As the earth giants trudged off, Elsa began to follow them. "I don't want to put anyone else at risk again, so we're going now, and we're going to find the voice," Elsa explained. Anna agreed, but first she needed to tell Kristoff. She searched for him, but he was nowhere to be found. Her heart heavy, she followed her sister and Olaf north. In a nearby meadow, the setup for the proposal was spectacular, with flowers and butterflies and reindeer. But Anna never showed up. Instead, Yelena appeared and informed Kristoff that the Queen and the Princess had headed north. Kristoff couldn't believe Anna had gone without him. He walked through the forest trying to sort out his feelings and wondering whether he truly fit into Anna's future. The journey north led Elsa, Anna, and Olaf to the rise of a hill. In amazement, they looked down at an old Arendalian ship, its tattered flag waving sadly in the wind. Anna and Elsa gasped at the sight. It was their parents' ship. They ran down to take a closer look. Anna and Elsa looked everywhere for clues about why their parents had been in the dark sea. They soon found a map. The sisters spread it out on the floor and saw that Ataharlan was clearly marked. Their parents had gone on a voyage to seek answers about Elsa's magic. Elsa ran from the ship. "This is my fault," she said in tears. Anna insisted Elsa wasn't responsible for the choices of their parents and reminded Elsa of her important quest. Once again, Anna had revived her sister's confidence. Elsa vowed to make it across the dark sea and find Ataharlan. But she had to do it alone. "No," said Anna, "we do this together. Who will stop you from going too far?" "You said you believed in me, that this is what I was born to do," Elsa insisted. "And I don't want to stop you from that," said Anna. "I can't lose you, Elsa." "I can't lose you either, Anna," Elsa said. And the two sisters hugged. Suddenly, Elsa magically created a boat under Anna and Olaf and sent them zipping down a path of ice. Anna scrambled, trying to stop their progress. But when it dropped down a slope, Anna and Olaf slipped into a river and floated away. Anna and Olaf were both angry with Elsa for sending them off. But when Anna realized Olaf was frightened too, she calmed down. "I know, but look, I'm still here, holding your hand." Olaf brightened. "That's a good point, Anna. I feel better. You're such a good listen." Then Anna saw something that made her quickly try to quiet Olaf. "Don't shush me," Olaf said. "That's rude." The little snowman's voice dropped to a whisper when he saw the river was surrounded by sleeping earth giants. "They're huge!" Anna frantically searched for an escape and saw that just ahead the river split. "Hang on, Olaf," she whispered. "Try not to scream." She took a branch and pushed them away from the snoring earth giants, directly towards a waterfall. Anna and Olaf dropped down the rushing water, and as they hit the surface below, their little boat shattered. After climbing onto the shore, Anna lit a torch and handed Olaf his nose. "Thank you," he said. pushing it back into his face. "Where are we? In a pit with no way out?" said Anna. "But with a spooky, pitch-black way in," Olaf said as he spotted a small opening behind a rock. They stepped into the darkness, hoping that Elsa was okay. Elsa had finally made her way north and reached the edge of the tumultuous dark sea. She moved back a few steps, then took a deep breath and ran. As Elsa sprinted across the sand and into the sea, snowflakes formed under her feet. The ice kept her on top of the water as she headed further from shore. A wave rose in front of her, and Elsa tried to run faster to reach the top before it crashed. But she didn't make it. She and her icy steps were washed away. Pulling herself back to shore, Elsa leapt onto a nearby rock. As a wave moved towards her, she froze it and used it as a slide. But the following wave broke the slide, and Elsa dove into the water. Deep beneath the dark sea, a lightning flash illuminated the water knock. It swam up to Elsa and looked her in the eye before disappearing in the next lightning strike. As Elsa surfaced, she started running. The water knock emerged and rammed the ice. The two continued to battle, both above and below the sea. Finally, Elsa used her magic to make an ice bridle, which she tossed over the head of the water spirit. At first, the water spirit bucked, but it and Elsa soon moved in harmony as they galloped to the opposite shore of the dark sea. The haunting voice continued to call Elsa towards Adaharlan. Elsa gasped when she discovered what some part of her had known all along. Adaharlan was a frozen river, a glacier. The voice urged her towards it. "I hear you, and I'm coming," Elsa said, snapping the reins. Elsa and the water knock were soon at the shore. When she climbed off the water knock and onto the icy bank, the water spirit galloped back into the dark sea. As she moved closer to the opening, Elsa felt the powerful magic of Adaharlan reaching for her. She walked towards, eager to meet it. Elsa stepped into the ice cave, following the haunting call. Finally, Elsa entered a big open room. Blurry images danced across the walls and ceiling. Elsa didn't understand what they were trying to tell her, but as Elsa sang, several images became clear, and Elsa realized they were from the past. The woman who was looking at her, the voice that had been calling to her, was the memory of her mother, Iduna. Listening to the words of her mother's song, Elsa knew Iduna had been calling her to finally become who she was always meant to be. As her powers grew and flourished, her true destiny revealed itself. Elsa transformed into the Snow Queen. Exhilarated, Elsa drew dozens of memories forward with her power, scouring the past for the secret of what had happened in the enchanted forest. But as she dug deeper, something changed. She went too far. When Elsa finally found the startling truth about the lies that had been told, the ice surrounded her. It moved up her body, freezing her solid. With her last breath, she desperately sent Anna a message. As Anna waited with Olaf, Elsa's magic reached them. An ice statue formed, and Anna learned the truth. Their grandfather had attacked the Northuldra. He had caused the battle that made the spirits curse the forest and surrounded it with an impenetrable mist. Anna had to make things right. As she began to lead Olaf away, he stopped suddenly. Anna looked at him. Flurries of snow drifted off his body. His fading magic meant Elsa was in serious trouble. Anna hugged the little snowman tightly. "I love you," she said, trying to hold back tears. As Olaf disappeared, Anna knew Elsa was gone. She sat alone and still, paralyzed by the thought of life without her sister and her favorite snowman. Anna took a deep breath. She had to be strong to do the next right thing, to break the dam that was a symbol of hate and betrayal. Her grandfather had built it to trick the Northuldra into thinking he could be trusted. The release of the flooding waters would destroy her beloved Arendelle, but Anna knew it was the only way to free the Northuldra and the Arendalians from the enchanted forest. At the edge of the river, Anna found the sleeping earth giants. She shouted, "Wake up!" They slowly got to their feet and began chasing her. She dodged trees and shrubs as she led them towards the dam. but she quickly found herself in the Earth Giant's path. Kristoff and Sven galloped by and scooped her up, just in time. At the dam, Matthias was trying to stop Anna. "Your Highness, what are you doing?" he asked. "Arendelle has no future until we make this right. King Runard betrayed everyone," she explained. "My sister gave her life for the truth." Matthias thought about it momentarily, and then he and the soldiers agreed to help her. Anna darted to the center of the dam, urging the giants. "Throw your boulders!" she shouted. Anna ran as the dam crumbled beneath her. She jumped and Matthias and Kristoff grabbed her moments before she fell. Anna's selfless act made something happen in Adderharlan. The ice holding Elsa cracked. Elsa mounted the water knock and together they raced towards Arendelle. Now that the dam was broken, a huge wave of water was rushing towards the village. When Elsa and the water knock reached Arendelle, they faced the wave. Elsa froze it with her power. The village was saved. The mist cleared from the enchanted forest. The curse had been reversed, and the Arendalians and the Northuldra were finally free. The anger between the two sides drifted away like the magical mist had, and they all celebrated their freedom together. Pieces of snow glittered in front of Anna and drew her to the fjord. She gasped when she saw Elsa and hugged her tightly. The sisters realized they had succeeded by working together. Elsa's place was in the forest with the spirits as the Snow Queen, while Anna's was back in her beloved kingdom as the Queen of Arendelle. With the help of Gale the Wind Spirit, Elsa brought Olaf back to life. The little snowman was delighted to see his friends. "Thank goodness water has memory," Elsa said. "You all came back," Olaf said. Kristoff knelt down in front of Anna and held out the ring he'd been carrying. "I love you with all I am. Will you marry me?" he asked. "Yes," she said. Weeks later, with General Matthias standing proudly beside her, Queen Anna looked out on her people. She presented them with a sculpture celebrating the peace between Arendelle and the Northuldra. It depicted her and Elsa's mother and father as youngsters. "Our lands and our people now connected by love," she said. As the crowd celebrated, Gale appeared. "I've got a message for my sister," Anna said, holding up a note. Gale swept it out of the kingdom. Elsa took the note Gale brought her. "Charades, Friday night," she read. "Don't be late. And don't worry, Arendelle's doing just fine. Keep looking after the forest. I love you." Elsa smiled. Even though they lived apart, the sisters felt closer than ever. She greeted the water knock, and together they galloped as one. Elsa felt free and truly happy, knowing she and her sister were exactly where they were meant to be. Thank you for joining me for the story. I'm Captain Starlight.